As I stepped through the small gate, my hand tightened around the little gift I had brought for Henry. It was nothing extravagant, just something simple, yet my heart stirred with emotions. After so many turbulent days, I could finally visit Tuna and her child in a moment of restored peace. The sound of Henry's laughter drifting from the kitchen seemed to lighten my steps. That evening's meal wasn't fancy, just familiar dishes Tuna had prepared, but it carried a warmth that felt extraordinary. Sitting there, watching Henry's bright eyes and Tuna's serene smile, I realized happiness doesn't always come from grand things. Sometimes it's found in the quiet moments that feel whole and complete, and yet a question lingered in my heart. Was forgiving Mrs. Zhu truly the right choice? Wounds of the heart don't simply fade with a few words of apology. But when I looked at Tuna, I saw that she had chosen to lay down her burden to forgive so she could move forward. Perhaps that very act of grace was what allowed this little family to rediscover peace. That night, as I left, a calmness washed over me. In the eyes of Henry and Tuna, I had glimpsed faith in a new beginning. The afternoon sun was soft when I finished work and made my way, as I often did, to Tuna's small house. Over the past weeks, life had slowly returned to a gentle rhythm for her and little Henry, and each visit seemed to weave me deeper into their world. But today, I wasn't arriving empty-handed. In the back seat of my car was a gift I had been thinking about for days, a crib for Henry. As I stepped through the doorway, I caught sight of Tuna moving gracefully around the kitchen. The aroma of rice and simmering soup filled the air, wrapping the house in warmth. "Tuna, what are you doing?" I called out, setting down the box I was carrying. She turned a faint blush on her cheeks. "Oh, Alex, you're here already." "Yes," I said with a smile, tapping the box. "I brought a crib for Henry. He's starting to grow restless, you know. Soon he'll be rolling over, maybe even crawling. It's not safe to leave him alone on the bed anymore. This will make things easier for both of you." Her eyes widened with joy, and for a moment she looked younger, lighter, as if a weight had been lifted from her shoulders. "That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Alex." I waved her thanks aside. "Are you cooking dinner?" "Yes," she said softly, glancing at the pot on the stove. "Then keep at it. I'll take this inside and set it up for Henry." I carried the box into the small bedroom, where Henry was lying on a blanket, babbling to himself, his little hands reaching for the air. His laughter bubbled up as I knelt beside him, and it made something stir deep in my chest. Carefully, I opened the box and began assembling the crib, the sound of clinking screws and wooden frames filling the quiet room. As I worked, I thought about how much had changed. Not long ago, their lives had been overshadowed by uncertainty and hurt. Now, peace was returning slowly, tentatively, like sunlight after a storm. Each nail I tightened felt symbolic, as if I was helping build not just a crib, but a safer space for Henry, a steadier future for Tuna. When I finally placed Henry inside, he looked around curiously, then kicked his legs in excitement. His eyes sparkled with delight, and Tuna, who had come to the doorway with a ladle still in her hand, let out a soft laugh. "He loves it already," she said. I stood back, wiping my hands, a quiet pride settling in me. "That's good. He deserves a safe place to rest. And you." I looked at her, letting the words linger. "You deserve a little peace of mind." She lowered her gaze, but I could see her smile, even as she turned back to the kitchen. Dinner that evening tasted better than any feast. Perhaps it was the laughter, the warmth, or simply the sight of Henry sleeping soundly in his new crib. Whatever it was, I knew that this simple act, bringing a gift, lending my hands, was one small step toward healing for both Tuna and me. And as I left later that night, I couldn't shake the thought, sometimes happiness isn't found in grand gestures, but in the quiet moments when love is expressed through care. There are moments in life when all the noise and tension of the outside world seem to melt away. For me, that moment often comes when I step into Tuna's little home and catch sight of Henry. Watching the boy sleep, his small chest rising and falling with steady breaths, brings me a peace I rarely find elsewhere. No matter how drained I am, after a long day of work, being here with them reminds me of what truly matters. That evening, I carried the box with Henry's new crib into the bedroom. I had promised myself that I'd bring it over as soon as I could. Henry was growing quickly, wriggling more and more, and leaving him on a bed was becoming risky. He needed a safe space of his own. I set the box down and began unpacking it. The wooden panels and small metal screws laid out neatly on the floor. Just as I was tightening the first piece, I heard soft footsteps behind me. Tuna appeared in the doorway, her apron still tied around her waist, strands of hair escaping from the bun she'd tied hurriedly while cooking. "This crib is going to look beautiful when it's done," she said gently, her voice carrying both curiosity and warmth. "Let me give you a hand." I looked up, smiling faintly. "It's fine. You go finish cooking. I can manage this on my own." But she shook her head, stepping closer. "No, let me help. It'll be faster this way." I could see the determination in her eyes, and before I knew it, we were both kneeling on the floor, working side by side. I tightened the screws, making sure each joint was firm, while she held the pieces steady. The quiet rhythm of our teamwork filled the room. The gentle click of the screwdriver, the occasional laugh when a panel didn't align right the first time. There was something almost intimate about the moment. We didn't speak much, yet the silence wasn't heavy. Instead, it was filled with a sense of shared purpose. With each step, I explained to her how to adjust the height of the crib, pointing out which level would be safest as Henry grew. She listened closely, her brow furrowed in concentration, nodding with genuine interest. Finally, with one last twist of the screwdriver, I sat back and exhaled. "It's done. Henry can use it right away." Her face lit up. "Really? Then let me put him in and see." She hurried off and returned a moment later with Henry cradled gently in her arms. The boy was drowsy, his eyelids fluttering, unaware of the little world we had just built for him. "Could you help me with his mat and pillow?" she asked softly. "Of course," I replied quickly, placing them inside the crib. When everything was ready, she lowered Henry into his new bed. He shifted slightly, then settled, his tiny hand curling around the edge of his blanket. Within moments, he was asleep, his face peaceful. We both stood there side by side watching him. The glow from the small lamp bathed the room in a golden hue, and in that quiet stillness I felt an unspoken bond form between us. Tuna glanced at me and our eyes met. We both smiled, not with words, but with a kind of joy that only comes from sharing something deeply meaningful. For the first time in a long while, I felt my heart unclench. Life had been full of burdens, mine, hers, everyone's. Yet in that simple moment, watching Henry sleep safely in the crib we had built together, I understood what peace could look like. It wasn't grand. It wasn't dramatic. It was found in small, ordinary acts of care. And as we both stood there quietly laughing to ourselves, I knew that these quiet evenings, these shared silences, was something worth holding on to. After finishing the crib and watching Henry sleep peacefully for a while, I quietly stepped out of the room. The gentle rhythm of his breathing still echoed in my mind, soothing every restless thought. In the kitchen, however, a different scene awaited me. Tuna's pots and pans were neatly arranged, but when I looked closer, I realized there was hardly any food prepared for dinner, just a handful of simple vegetables sitting on the counter. My heart tightened. She had been managing with so little stretching every meal, and it showed in the slight weariness in her eyes. I turned to her with a decision already forming. "I think I'll catch one of the chickens from the coop," I said, my tone half serious, half playful. "It's been days since you've had a proper meal. You can't keep neglecting your health like this, Tuna." She looked up startled, then gave a faint smile. "Oh, that's not necessary. I'll be fine." But I shook my head. "No, really. You start preparing what you can. I'll bring back a chicken and we'll make a proper dinner tonight." Her brows lifted slightly, amusement flickering in her eyes. "Do you even know how to prepare a chicken, Alex?" I grinned. "Of course I do. Trust me, I've had plenty of practice." She hesitated only a moment before nodding. "All right then. I'll head down to the garden and pick some fresh vegetables." "Perfect," I said. "You take care of the greens, I'll handle the chicken." And so, without another word, we each set off on our tasks. I walked out to the small coop behind the house, the evening air crisp against my skin. The chickens scattered noisily as I stepped in, but soon enough, I had caught a plump one. Carrying it back, I thought about how unusual this all was me, a man more accustomed to paperwork and city routines now standing in a small yard preparing to cook a chicken. Yet somehow it felt right. Meanwhile, Tuna returned with a basket full of leafy greens, her cheeks flushed from the cool air. She rinsed them under the pump, the water sparkling as it splashed over her hands. There was a quiet determination in the way she moved, strong, graceful, and yet so gentle. By the time I finished dressing the chicken, she'd already chopped the vegetables and laid out the seasonings. Side by side, we began cooking, she tending to the broth while I worked on the meat. The small kitchen, which had moments ago felt empty, now brimmed with life, the sizzle of oil, the sharp scent of ginger, the warmth of steam rising into the air. We didn't talk much as we worked, but there was a harmony between us as if we had been doing this together for years. Every movement felt natural. Every glance shared across the stove held a quiet understanding. It wasn't long before the table was set with a simple yet hearty meal steaming chicken soup, stir-fried greens, and fragrant rice. As we sat down, I glanced at Tuna. For the first time that day, her shoulders seemed lighter, her smile unguarded, and in that small home, with Henry asleep in his new crib and the aroma of a warm meal filling the air, I realized something. Happiness didn't need grandeur. It was found here in the shared labor of a meal, in the quiet laughter across a wooden table, in the peace of simply being together. The evening had settled into a calm rhythm by the time Tuna finished her bath and came to the table. Dinner was already laid out, the simple dishes we had prepared filling the room with a comforting aroma. We sat across from each other, steam rising between us, the clink of chopsticks and the faint sound of Henry breathing in the other room, shaping the kind of quiet that felt almost sacred. For a while we ate in silence. Then, as I set down my bowl, a thought that had been pressing on my mind all evening finally slipped out. "Tuna," I said softly, careful not to break the peace about Mrs. Yu. "How do you think we should handle her?" She paused, chopsticks hovering mid-air. A small sigh escaped her lips. "I'm still thinking, Alex." I leaned back slightly, studying her face. "From what I've seen, I don't think she truly intended to harm Henry." Her eyes softened as she nodded. "Yes, I've thought about that too. I believe she misses Henry more than anything. That's why she acted the way she did. I don't think it was malice." "Then what will you do?" I pressed gently. She lowered her gaze, her voice steady yet tinged with sadness. "I don't want to pursue this harshly. I'll ask the police to issue a warning, nothing more. I don't want her dragged into more misery." I considered her words. Maybe that's for the best. She's already lost so much. Her son, Huang An, is in prison. Her home is gone, and she's left living in someone else's house. Perhaps this will be enough to keep her from causing more trouble. Tuna set her chopsticks down, her expression caught between strength and compassion. No matter what happened later, she did take me in once when I was a child from the orphanage. Life with her wasn't easy, but still she gave me a place to belong. For that I can forgive her. I won't make this a battle, Alex. I watched her as she spoke, struck by the quiet resolve in her voice. Forgiveness wasn't weakness, it was strength. The kind of strength that could break cycles of bitterness and let peace return. And yet a shadow lingered in my mind. We had decided together to let Mrs. Yu go, with only a warning to trust in Tuna's compassion. But as I looked across the table at her, this woman who had endured so much yet still carried kindness in her heart, I couldn't help but wonder, would Mrs. Yu see this forgiveness for what it was, a chance to change, to live with humility? Or would she take it as an opportunity to weave new schemes driven by desperation to reclaim Henry at any cost? The uncertainty hung in the air, unspoken but sharp. I reached for my cup, letting the tea's warmth settle me, and forced a smile. For tonight, there was peace. Henry was safe, Tuna was beside me, and the food we shared carried the taste of home. Tomorrow we would see what kind of path forgiveness truly opened.
Quay lại cuộc sống cũ, nơi tình yêu và sự quan tâm của Alex đang chờ đợi, hay ở lại nơi này sống một cuộc sống mới hoàn toàn không bị ràng buộc. Cả hai im lặng một lúc, chỉ còn hơi thở họ lấp đầy không gian. Alex vẫn giữ chặt tay trên vai Tuna, đôi mắt đẫm lệ vì lo lắng, đôi tay run rẩy sợ mất cô. Em có thể cho anh biết em nghĩ gì không? Em sẽ quay lại với anh chứ? Anh hỏi nhẹ nhàng nhưng đầy hy vọng. Tuna không biết nói gì, cô chỉ biết cúi đầu, lòng còn đầy nghi ngờ, không muốn làm anh thất vọng, nhưng cô không chắc mình muốn gì. Cô bỏ chạy, vì sự ràng buộc. Nhưng nhìn vào mắt Alex, cô không thể từ chối tình yêu của anh dành cho mình. Hai người bước về căn nhà nhỏ, ngồi xuống bắt đầu trò chuyện. Không khí thật yên bình, nhưng cũng đang đến lúc cô phải đối mặt với những quyết định quan trọng của cuộc đời cô. Liệu cô ấy có thể trở về nông trại với Alex, nơi tình yêu và sự bình yên đang chờ đón, hay sẽ ở lại đó bắt đầu một cuộc sống mới? Đây là một quyết định quan trọng đối với cô, chỉ là cô chưa có thể đưa ra câu trả lời. Bạn nghĩ sao? Từ nay nên làm gì? Cô sẽ ở lại với Alex hay tiếp tục cuộc sống ở làng? Chia sẻ những suy nghĩ của mình với tôi nhé. Cảm ơn bạn đã theo dõi. Đừng quên gặp lại các bạn trong tập tiếp theo.